Crank it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell. Can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white and raise hell. cry to shame. Every word we say, but we don't bow down. We just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
Good morning. Let us get after it right here on Strictly Speaking. And it is, as you can see on your screen, a free-for-all Friday. All right, everybody. Thank you for being with us. That means whatever you want to talk about in the chat, whatever questions you want to ask, whatever topics you want me to broach and comment upon, it shall be done. I do have a guest coming up at the top of the next hour, and I do have something to share with you from last night here in the first hour. So moderately limited to the free-for-all, or when it comes to the free-for-all stuff, because I do have some plans. But there will be plenty of time for me to get in the chat. As a matter of fact, I better open up the comment section right now to see the peeps and see what is happening where you are. So good morning to everybody who is in our chat and who comes to the chat on a regular basis. Don't forget, those of you who do, you already know the drill. Hit the thumbs up and hit the notification button on the way in every single time, and bring somebody with you, because that's how we grow. That's what it's all about. So thanks, everybody, for being here. It is a Friday, free-for-all style, first morning, 5th month. Flip calendar, quote of the day. What do we got as we move over from April 30th? Inspirational quote of the day. One man has enthusiasm for 30 minutes, another for 30 days, but it is the man who has it for 30 years who makes a success of his life. Edward Butler, American scientist. I don't know who Mr. Butler is, but I'll tell you what, it's damn strong messaging right there. You better be enthusiastic about what you're doing. So coming up in an hour, we're going to talk to a friend who was a new friend, because I haven't met him yet. I haven't talked to him yet personally. I've done text exchanges with him and direct messages with him. I was introduced to Hollywood Morris by Sheriff Bruce Zukowski, Portage County Sheriff, of course, who's been on this program and took part in our ICE appreciation event that we had back in March. And Sheriff Zukowski sent me, no, you can fade that out there, Dylan. Sheriff Zukowski messaged me in March, and I'm sorry, after that, I should say, and said, hey, want you to meet Hollywood Morris. I said, who's Hollywood Morris? And Sheriff told me, said, this is a guy who is doing some amazing work on behalf of officers, police officers, honoring fallen officers and raising awareness about the growing attacks on federal agents, including ICE and DHS. He runs Support Our Shields. That's the organization, Support Our Shields. And I said, done. Yep. Hook us up, connect. It took us a little bit to get our schedules together, but Hollywood Henry Morris is going to be joining us here in about an hour at about 8 o'clock. And I'm very much looking forward to that. As far as what's coming up this hour, in a few minutes, I'm going to start for you some of last night's presentation at the Walk Down Nightmare Lane. Instead of a stroll down memory lane, we called it a stroll down nightmare lane because we gathered together yesterday, about 200 of us in Strongsville for with Strongsville GOP. Kudos to Shannon Burns, by the way, for putting on another great event. And kudos to all of the activists and the interested participants who came, like I said, about 200 strong to fill a room in Strongsville where Tom Renz, attorney and medical freedom activist, and Judge Jill Lanzinger, who hopefully will be soon a Supreme Court justice in Ohio, and myself, and we all kind of gave some presentations reminding everybody exactly what COVID policies in Ohio were like and what the nightmare felt like in 2020, 2021, and really through 2022 as well, because of the policies of Amy acted. It was a phenomenal event. We were supposed to live stream it last night on this channel, but there was a connection, a tech hookup problem. Ohio Political News filmed it and put it on theirs, and Tom Renz. And for whatever reason, I didn't have it quite connected properly, I guess, but it didn't go out over our channel. So if you missed it, I figured this is a good time to share some of it with you. This is a 2.5-hour event. I'm not going to give you all of it. I'm going to give you about 30 minutes of it, including the opening remarks made by Tom, myself, and Judge Lanzinger. So that'll be coming up here a little bit after we talk about just a few things here at the top of the show. So that's where I want to go right now. I want to share with you some stuff that is of great importance right now. Number one, we can, and I don't know why I keep forgetting to fix up this kind of abbreviated clip, because I want to be able to hear the "can you" as a part of Dig It. But you damn straight, finally, we got everything opened again, and DHS is funded for the longest shutdown, even partial shutdown of the federal government in American history is now over after the House agreed with a unanimous voice vote with what the Senate sent over. Mike Johnson relented to fund all of TPS with the exception of ICE and CBP. So now DHS is funded and the door is opened as Bernie Moreno planned this from the start. Senator Moreno was kind of the tip of the spear in trying to say, let's just pull out and separate out DHS and ICE, since that's the holdup, and we'll fund them even longer in a reconciliation bill, which only takes a simple majority to end debate and to have the vote in the Senate, which we will have enough votes to do. So it's a very strong strategy. It just took the House getting on board with funding DHS as it is. And last night that happened. So we do have full funding, including TSA, including Secret Service, full funding for all of the Department of Homeland Security, with the exception of ICE and CBP, and that is coming. So to the members of the House and to the Senate, and especially Senator Moreno, who is, like I said, really at the forefront of all of this, please allow me to offer you an abbreviated but very heartfelt.
Can you dig it?
Yeah. Mental note, things to do, fix the beginning of "Can You Dig It?" I don't like the "can you" being part being cut off there. But that was really, really important news yesterday. So that is good. Now, what I wanted to also get to you, I didn't know this was happening. I'm going to pop this up on the screen super quick here and share this with you, because I should have known this is happening, because May 1st and May Day is a thing. But what's happening with the schools, I did not know what was happening. So May Day protests all across the country are including now children. And this is the part that I want to share with you, because if it doesn't outrage you, it should. Why am I off center here on this thing? I don't know why. That's weird. I think something happened. It's indefensible, teaching little kids to be little anarchists and activists, and that's what they're doing. So what you can see on the screen, May Day protest rallies planned across central Ohio. It is being planned across the country, but I want to just kind of share a little bit of information here. A series of May Day rallies, marches, and community events are scheduled across Columbus and central Ohio on May 1st, with organizers framing the day as a broader general strike and a call for worker and community action. You know what it's a call for? It's a call for communism and socialism again. And now they want the kids to participate in it. Not even kidding. Pay attention here. A coalition of local organizations. Now, this is just the Columbus. I got more from other cities. I was looking to see what's happening in Northeast Ohio, by the way. I wasn't able to find anything very specific, but the Columbus one popped up. A coalition of local organizations, including the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the PSL, ding, 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 CARE Ohio, you know, the terrorist supporting organization, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relationships. Let me say it again so they can hear it in the cheap seats. CARE is a terrorist supporting organization. Loud and clear enough for you? That's who is supporting these May Day protests and impacting and influencing your kids. The Columbus Education Association, ding, 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 the teachers' unions. And Columbus Education Justice Coalition, all doing their little rally there in Columbus. Like I said, I don't know what's happening in Cleveland. If I can pop up the chat as we go this morning, I will. If somebody on the chat can tell me, is there any of this crap planned for Northeast Ohio? Are the Cleveland schools, are the Cleveland and Ohio Education Association, are these unions, you know, getting involved in anything in Northeast Ohio? Because that's where I was really looking for. But as I said, I can definitely tell you, oh, look, here's a list. May Day events planned across there. That's just Central, though. That's just Central Ohio. Okay, so that's fine. But now there is this. This is something that is a report from Chicago that I want to share with you. So this, let's see here. Okay, there she is. The the MJ Truth Ultra post reads, not only will teachers be skipping school on the May Day protest tomorrow, now the Chicago public school system is literally organizing field trips for students to go and protest President Trump. Parents need to realize these schools are indoctrinating their children to become political activists. This is so wrong. Leave our children alone. I could not agree more with that. I want you to watch this short clip.
Potentially hundreds of kids will be allowed to take a field trip to a May Day rally in Union Park during that school day. Last year's May Day rally in Union Park brought together thousands of people speaking out in opposition to the policies of the Trump administration. According to the agreement between Chicago Public Schools and the Chicago Teachers Union, CPS will provide buses for field trips of students and educators to attend the 1 p.m. May Day rally in Union Park this year. Potentially hundreds of kids will be allowed to take a field trip to a May Day rally in Union Park during that school day. Last year's May Day rally in Union Park brought together thousands of people.
All right, that's it. So what you are hearing and what you are witnessing is the weaponization of your children against your wishes, perhaps. Now, maybe you're a liberal lunatic and you want your kids to learn how to be little liberal lunatics and anarchists, but guess what? You teach them that shit then. You teach them to be a little anarchist. The public schools cannot and should not and must not have any role in funding or organizing or taking them out of classes where they're supposed to be learning to read and to write and to learn real American history and how to do real science and not revisionist history and pseudoscience. The job of the schools is to teach them how to learn and how to function in a normal society, not, repeat, not how to be little anarchists. But that's what they're doing. I wasn't even planning on talking about this today, but I want you to watch. Here's just experience.
No work, no school, no shopping. That is the call this May Day. It was the same 140 years ago when workers won the 40-hour work week. May Day is a celebration of working people fighting back. In 1886, thousands of meatpacking workers went on strike in Chicago. It spread like wildfire across the nation, with 500,000 people going on strike. They're facing horrible conditions, brutal repression, but that did not stop them. They won. This is our history. May Day is a reminder that what we need is never given to us. We have to fight for it. We're all part of that history. We're all part of that movement. So get out here this May Day, get organized. Together we can win a California for the people, not the billionaires.
Did you notice what that stupid son of a bitch is wearing? See his shirt? Vote socialism. Vote socialist. I can't see if it's a T or an M on the other side of the S. Probably a T. Vote socialist. You notice that? What we are dealing with here, my friends, let me dump that off now for a moment. What we are dealing with here is your kids, again, being not just indoctrinated, but weaponized like never before to become good little anarchistic socialists, to tear down the system of capitalism that has brought more people from poverty and into the middle class, and from the middle class into wealth than any in the history of human civilization. Let me say that again. It is not socialism which lifts people from poverty into middle class status and above and gives them opportunity. No, it is capitalism that has done that. Socialism literally does the opposite. It takes the wealthy and the middle class and it drops them down from wealthy to middle class and middle class to poverty. And if it is allowed to go on long enough, everybody's in poverty. And then what happens when everybody's in poverty? Venezuela happens. They went from being a wealthy state, the wealthiest nation in Central America. They were living a very, very grand existence, and then socialism took over, the socialist revolution, and then they were roasting rats on sticks over open fires for food. Not an exaggeration. All right? That's what happens when socialism happens. Look at Eastern Europe. Look at, I don't want to go through Cambodia and the Khmer Rouge again. I will. Again, I wrote a very extensive historical recounting of socialist nations and how they have killed literally probably close to 200 million people in the last 150 years. Okay, I detailed all of them, or a good number of them anyway, in a Strictly Speaking This Week newsletter that I put, I don't know, I want to say it was back in January, February now. But again, I've promised to rerun it. Maybe I should rerun it again. If you're a subscriber, go back and find it. Socialism kills people. It starves them to death. When enough people are in poverty, when enough people, but it's all fair. We've collectivized. That's what socialism is all about, collectivism. Take it all from everybody, collect it and put it in one big pot to be doled out by the elite, by the Politburo, and hand it out in little scraps to the proles. And guess what? Most of them don't get their scraps and they end up dying. This is what's being taught to your children. This is what's being promoted right now on May Day. So I want to read a couple of lines here from an article and off the press. What has unfolded over the past 2 weeks? There's a battle in the Chicago teachers unions getting new contracts. What has unfolded over the last 2 weeks is not a labor dispute. It's a case study in what happens when a teachers union stops serving students and starts serving a political movement. And again, this is a Chicago story, but this is a national issue. As you just saw, the Californians, Central Ohioans, all over the country, this May Day thing is happening. And by the way, do these dumb bastards know how to do anything other than protest? Seriously, it's like their fifth protest of the year. They've done four no kings, or in the last year and a half, I guess. They've done 4 no kings since Trump has been president. Now this one too. It's all they do. They go out there and they bang drums and they pound and they blow whistles and they wear stupid chicken costumes and frog costumes and act like idiots and then think they're doing something. All they're doing is causing unrest. It's helping no one, including them. Anyway, Chicago Teachers Union posted on their Facebook page, on May 1st, 2026, we take action together through our collective bargaining. We secured the ability to stand united on May Day with no school, no work, no shopping. The phrasing matters. This was framed as an achievement. The union secured the ability to shut down schools so its members could participate in a coordinated political action, but not only its members, its students. Because if school is shut down, students aren't learning. And if students are being given markers and sign kits to make their own signs in support of paying the teachers more, which I wouldn't give those rat bastards another goddarn nickel. And I'm sorry about the language, but I am infuriated by this crap. I was once a member of a teachers union, all right, 30 plus years ago. And I wasn't active in it. It just, you had to join it basically when you got hired in. And I did, to protect yourself in the event that a student accuses you of something or whatever. So I joined in it. But what it has become, to my knowledge, over the last 35 years is just as un-American as anything can be. They're in those classrooms, and COVID exposed it. I'll tie into COVID in a moment. COVID exposed it all, didn't it? Once we got to look over the shoulders of our kids and look at their laptops and see what kind of crap was in the curriculum, what kind of indoctrinational garbage these teachers were doing to our kids. Now we know, and now they're taking them out of the classrooms and putting them on the streets to hold signs demanding socialism and demanding more pay for their teachers. You don't think a student is going to be, what student is going to say no to that? When their teacher says, don't you want me to be able to continue to live and work for you? The kid isn't going to be like, I don't want to get an F from this teacher. Yeah, I'll carry your sign. I mean, honestly, it is just disgusting and it is repugnant. There's a whole, it's a long article on Off the Press. I'm not going to be able to read it all, like I said, because I want to get into last night. But it's a big deal. It is a very big deal that May Day is here, and it is one thing for union members to protest. It's another thing for them to go into our schools, yank the kids out by the shirt collar and say, hold this sign or else, and teach them to be, like I said, little anarchists. It is a dangerous, dangerous thing. Weaponizing our kids is a bridge too far. That is something that we're not going to be able to stand for. All right. That's for the top of the news. Now I want to get into before too long and before we get into Hollywood Morris at the top of the next hour. I just want to give you a little taste of what you missed last night. Like I said, we were planning to have it live stream on this channel, on the Strictly Speaking Unfiltered channel, but a little bit of a tech glitch. One dot didn't connect to the other dot and it didn't go live. So I want to share this with you now. And it's just the opening statements from the three panelists that were on the stage last night. Shannon Burns put this whole thing together with Strongsville GOP. It was really a great, great event. Tom Renz was the first to speak. And Judge Jill Lanzinger, who is a candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court, was the last to go, and I was in the middle. I want to give you just the opening comments from each of us. It's about a half an hour, so it's going to take probably the rest of this hour before we get into Hollywood Morris, but I really think it's important that you hear. The event was called A Walk Down Nightmare Lane, because we want everybody to remember what COVID was like and what the policies in Ohio did to our businesses, to our families, to so many. And why we can't ever let somebody like Amy Acton, who is in charge, when the next pandemic hits, and there will be one, if our leadership includes somebody like Amy Acton, who was given the keys to lead it in 2020, 2021, and 2022 by Mike No Spine, we have survival issues, all right, at that point in time. So that's what last night was all about, reminding everybody. And so let's hold on. Let me see if I can make this a little bit of a different size. Maybe not. Okay. But let's watch. Like I said, this is from last night. I would have given it to you live if I could have, but unfortunately, like I said, the connections didn't quite work. But please take this in now. Here we go.
No. So let's think back to 2019. I was a Limbaugh conservative. I'd been listening to him for years. God rest his soul. And I had never heard of medical freedom. Not once. Didn't know what it was. I'd heard about some of these anti-vaxxers. Like, those guys, they're nuts, right? I mean, how could a whole industry be fraudulent? How could our doctors, who we love, be so wrong? How could they? These are smart guys, right? I mean, there's a joke. If I could do math, I'd be an engineer. If I could do science, I'd be a doctor. I can't do anything, so I'm a lawyer. But our best and brightest, how could they be hornswoggled? How could they be fooled? So I actually got in an argument. Someone very close to me back in 2016 They were hearing about this Jenny McCarthy talking about vaccines and autism. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It wasn't so dumb. It wasn't so dumb, unfortunately. Fast forward to 2020. And do you guys remember when we weren't supposed to do this? Remember when they told your kids or grandkids they had to wear a mask? When grown adults would berate small children because the mask wasn't covering the paper mask that you could see through and put your finger, but it wasn't covering your nose. We're going to die. This was absurd. It was patently absurd, and it was an exercise in demonstrating how easily we can be manipulated with fear. Those that are willing to give up their freedoms for security will have neither and deserve neither. And I know that's not the precise quote, but I'm using it. I disagree with the president on that statement. I know he said it with regards to FISA. I'm sorry, I just disagree with it. But I will tell you this. I'm guessing we got a few Trump voters here, maybe. I argued with some people in his campaign and some people around him during the election, the run up to 2024. I said, guys, you got to get right with medical freedom. You can't win this without it. Turns out that Bobby Kennedy, according to internal polling, brought 9.2 million votes to President Trump. So without Bobby Kennedy and without medical freedom, you all have President Harris right now. Think about that. People didn't forget what they did to our children, and they're not going to. And we're now seeing more and more evidence coming out. You know those peer-reviewed studies? They're proving what I was arguing. I had whistleblowers, I had data, I had evidence. They told me I didn't understand the science, I didn't know what I was doing, but guess what? He had evidence. I don't need to understand the science. I'm a lawyer, right? If I've got an opposing party admitting something, if I've got government documents, which I did, I don't need more than that. I had the government document. Did you guys hear Ron Johnson had a hearing yesterday? And in that, he showed the government documents showing that they were hiding the negative impacts of these vaccines. Now, I want to define evil for you because people don't think about it this way. We now know through numerous hearings in various courts around the world and through admissions, through peer-reviewed studies, through all these things, that absolutely no healthy children at the height of COVID were dying from COVID. None. It presented no risk to children. Now, we now know, in those 8 million pages that Senator Johnson now has that our government tried to hide from him, that our corrupt HHS tried to hide from him, confirm that they knew that these vaccines were creating the risk for myocarditis and all sorts of other things. Trust me when I tell you, I have the data, I have the evidence. There will eventually be proven, and it's starting to happen now, the connection between these vaccines and turbo cancer. The turbo cancer that you're seeing, I have a 2006 document from the FDA where they describe mRNA gene therapy type drugs and openly say, one of the delayed adverse reactions we expect is cancer. It's clear as day. I don't need science, I got evidence. They aren't going to put that out there when it's against their interests, unless it's true. This was covered up. The definition of evil is being willing to kill a child or put a child's life at risk for nothing but money, because there is no benefit whatsoever from the mRNA vaccines. None. Not in a child. We can argue about old people that are sick. We can't argue about children. Yet to this day, the pharmaceutical companies continue to push that. People are waking up to this somewhat intuitively, somewhat because there's still a lot of us fighting and trying to make sure that people know. But guess what? The distrust is continuing to grow. And because of the overreach, because of the absolute unbelievable tyranny that occurred during COVID, people aren't forgetting. They aren't forgetting. Now, I argued in the run-up to the election that created one of the largest single-issue voter blocks in American history, right? This is just a math issue. I'm sorry, if you're pushing mRNA, I ain't voting for you. I don't care who you are. If you're trying to force this on our families, just no good. This was a critical thing. Medical freedom matters. we need to make sure that it matters to our party, right? There's no question. The Democrats are insane. They're literally certifiably insane. A vote for a Democrat at this point is a vote for Marxism, communism, or worse. I mean, it's literally, they're not even in the ballpark of insane. Luckily, they're largely discredited in any sort of a sane circle. There's still a few hangouts and holdovers, and they still do the things they do to try and make us believe that they're relevant, but you know, they're nuts. The problem right now is our party. We have got to fight hard in these primaries. We've got to retake our GOP. I heard we got someone running for committee. Please vote for that. Get involved with the Republican Party. Take a stand. We are still fighting to get truth out. We're seeing lies in so many places. You know what? Did you guys see this weekend about the tracking stuff that they're doing with the Ford cars coming up? Did you see? It's very viral. For any of you that don't know, and this is a real thing, we passed legislation, it was under Biden, that basically are going to turn our cars into remote controlled. They can turn them off from a distance if your eyes are too big, if you look too worried. God forbid you have a real emergency and you look panicked when you get in your car because your car won't turn on for you. You said, well, what's that got to do with COVID? What's that got to do with? Well, here's the thing. I didn't know this either, much like I didn't understand the importance of medical freedom. It's all about control, right? The digital track and trace, the follow you, we control everything. Have you heard of central bank digital currencies? Okay. Did you know we're moving ahead with that? Now, Trump passed some legislation to limit that, but guess what? They're doing it with public-private partnerships. They're going to do it privately. Did you know that the Real ID has a digital ID component? Did you know that it's shared everywhere? You want to know how they shared it? It's not through a federal database. It's through a public-private partnership with a nonprofit entity that you can't find anything about. You can't check and see what's happening with your records. You can't figure it out. It's all hid. We're making a lot of great progress. Trump's done a lot of good things. And I'm grateful that we've got some good things happening. But our GOP, I mean, we can't pass the SAVE Act, for God's sakes. We've got to be active, and the people here are critical. You guys cared enough to come out and to talk to us. You guys cared enough to come out and listen. Being active now is more important than everything Donald Trump is in. We can just put it on our arms. We don't have to do anything. Trump's got it. No, Trump is one man, and he's surrounded by snakes everywhere. He's a great guy. He ain't Jesus, okay? It's up to us to root out the corruption in our own party, to demand that our party stand for the principles that we stand for. If they don't stand for the principles we stand for, then it's not our party, is it? This is the GOP. When I speak, when I have the privilege, and praise God, I mean, let me tell you the most important thing that came out of COVID for me. And the one thing I really want you guys to understand, I'm still a nobody that lives in Fremont. I'm just a nobody that a lot of people have heard. I was able to make a difference, not because I'm special. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody that remembers Ohio Stand Up. God bless those guys. They were absolute heroes during COVID. They helped us here with our fight in Ohio. But there was no fight in Ohio without those. They were the start. And then Stephanie comes on. And then, by the way, kudos to this guy who, when I was just getting started, helped me to develop my platform. You know, now I got a big old platform, and so I'm some sort of a big shot, I guess, right? My kids don't think so, but yeah. None of that happened without the heroes locally. And I want you guys to understand that, because I want you to understand I didn't do anything that everyone in this room can't do. You just got to be willing to commit. Now, granted, I'm a bit psycho. When I go at something, I go real hard. But this is what we have to do. We have to recognize that our grandchildren and our children's future is at stake. The imperative that we had, critical situation that we were in hasn't gone away. Nobody's gone to jail for this, has they? We've got one guy that was finally indicted, and we'll see what happens with that. No one has gone to jail. Do you know that globally, depending on estimates, and I know this is a big gap, $15 to $30 trillion changed hands globally because of COVID. Nobody's gone to jail. Do you think they're going to do it again? For 15 to 30 trillion, I'm pretty sure they will. Did you know the gain of function? You know the stuff, the gain of function, that's the work that they did that created SARS-CoV-2 in the lab? Did you know that we're doing that on American soil today? It's continuing. It's not talked about in the press. They don't want us to know what's happening. The importance of you being involved and being active, especially in the GOP right now, is more than ever. Don't trust someone just because they said so. Look into it yourself. Unfortunately, my experience with many, not all, there's a few good politicians, but with many is that if they're talking, they're lying, especially in Washington. The farther up the food chain, the harder it is to find good ones. We have to retake our party. We have to retake America. We have to make sure that the MAHA and MAGA principles that we fought for are central to what our elected officials are doing. Now, I've got about another half hour to go. No, I'm going to cut off because I know Shannon has a good schedule to keep, and so I'm going to cut off there. But I am honored that you guys are here. I'm honored to be able to speak to you. I thank you guys. I know some of you guys, I ran across during COVID, and you guys were supporters and helped me with what I was doing. And I couldn't be more honored and grateful that I had the opportunity to do what I've done over the last few years. And, it's my promise that I'm going to keep doing until my kid's future is free. We're going to keep going. So thank you.
Attorney Tom Renz, we'll hear more from him shortly. Next person does not need an introduction, but I'm still going to do it. And I'm going to plug your podcast too while I'm doing it. If you haven't downloaded Rumble on your phone yet and subscribed and liked Strictly Speaking with Bob Frantz, you better do it now. It'll be a test before you can leave. And then there'll be another one before you can make it in the beer caucus. So you better do it. That's all I'm telling you right now. Okay. I'd like to bring up our great friend, somebody who has been in front of our audience, I don't know, 5 times maybe in the past or more. At one time had a running feud with another host as to who had a bigger crowd, and I think you finally won. But I'd like to bring up our friend, Bob Frantz.
I very rarely don't have a lot to say, but I could tell you what, I could sit there for another half an hour and let Tom go, right? Tom Renz was amazing. It was phenomenal. Tom said, he blew up and got this massive platform, not because he's special. But you know what it is? It's because he worked his ass off at finding the data, at finding the evidence that he talked about. And that is special. And that's what it takes. And you know what? That is what it's going to take from every single person in this room and every single person that lives in your home and every single person that you on whose street you live or you share a street with. We need to all work our butts off to make sure that tyranny doesn't destroy this state again. And that's why I'm here tonight. Shannon asked me to be a part of this with a future Ohio Supreme Court justice and with Tom Renz, a nationally known medical freedom advocate, and said, you too. Me too? What? Why me? What? And, he said, because you took everybody through this when everything was going on. In Ohio, the platform that I had really, really resonated with people, or rather the message that I was able to give out over my platform resonated with people, but in only because I was listening to people. I was listening to people, and we were all suffering through something that no people had ever been forced to suffer through before. True, unbridled authoritarianism. We have not had that in this country since, come July, 250 years before we cast off that crown. We had to listen to people telling us where to go, when we could go there, how long we could stay, whether we could stand, whether we could sit, whether we could breathe free air, whether we had to breathe our own mucus back in over and over again, whether our kids could go to school, where we could walk, on which side of the aisle we had to walk on down the doggone grocery store aisle.
if you're on this side and the cereal you want is on that side, you have to walk all the way down to one end and come back all the way over here to get the one on that side. My son in the summer of 2020 was getting ready for his senior year of football. And my son had his football activities, like everyone else's, shut down. Because on March 15th of 2020, Mike DeWine introduced Amy Acton, the director of health, and the two of them said to us, to all of us, folks, it's temporary. It's just, we need 3 weeks to flatten the curve. Look at that crazy curve. We just need 3 weeks to flatten it. We'll all be good, okay? 1 year later, in March of 2021, they were just starting to say, well, we can do a few of the things we used to do before, but only if you walk on those footprints on the floors and on the ground. Only if you cover your face and make sure you keep that little rat kid of yours face covered too. If that kid breathes, like Tom said, we're all dead. They did that to us. My son in 2020 was a part of that I'm sorry, group of lost kids that have still not found their way. I'm talking about kids who didn't get to go to their classes, particularly those in high school. Not to say that it doesn't impact, but the younger kids, you can kind of build back things. But the kids at that age, the ones who are in college now or just recently gone, do you know how many of them are lost? They forgot how to learn. They forgot, they don't know who to trust. I'm telling you, the kids that my son graduated with are not the kids that they went into high school with. And I knew them because I coached a lot of them before high school, in their football days. But the story I was about to tell is my son wasn't allowed to go to practice, wasn't allowed to go to the weight room to lift because everything was, because if you go into a weight room, you go anywhere else for that matter, you could be arrested. My son literally told his mother and me, he was about to leave the house. I said, where are you going? I'm going to Sean's. He's got some weights in his garage. We're going to lift. I got to get ready for the season. My wife said to him, don't do it. They could arrest you because we were all on curfews. We were all limited as to where we could go. It had never happened before since we declared our independence. She said to him, don't go. And you know what? He went, but she told him, don't go down 57 out in Elyria. Don't go down Route 57. That's probably where they're going to be. Worried about police stopping a 17-year-old kid from going to lift weights with his buddy. Eventually, I took my son up during one of the allowed periods, which again, just the stupidity of it all. That COVID was on a break on the days that they allowed us to leave. But I took the truck up to the actual school, and we brought a bench and a bunch of other things home and put it in our garage so he wouldn't have to get arrested going to his buddy's house to lift. That's how insane it was. When the fall came around, the kids were allowed to play football. They brought football back with some rules. The parents had to sit in the stands, and only the parents in the houses in which the athletes lived. You could sit in your little group of 2 or 3 or 4 from your household, a good 6 feet away from anybody else's little household there in the stands. Because if you came any closer than that, we were all going to die. And we sat there in our little clusters, and we watched those kids out on that field line up across the line from each other, face to face. That winter, wrestling season came around. Do you know that our state, all of this, by the way, and I need to remind you, all of these rules and policies and protocols that were put in place were devised by the walking, babbling lab coat, Dr. Amy Acton. She made all of the rules because Mike DeWine nodded with approval and said, "You go, girl." He gave her the permission to enact all of this tyranny, and she did it. Well, they decided that the best way to protect the kids who were wrestling with each other. How many people have ever seen amateur wrestling? You think the guys get close to one another? Their faces are in each other's armpits and in their crotches and face to face, and they're twisted up as pretzels. They got to wrestle. But when the match ended, the referee stood there and blocked them from shaking hands. Do you remember? We can't have you shaking hands. You might be touching COVID and take it home to your families. You know, the ones that are sitting in little clusters in the bleachers watching you wrestle. The stupidity of it all. Do you remember that some restaurants were just completely shuttered, just like the mom and pop stores, the small stores. But we don't want you to be starved out, and we don't want you to not get the things you need. The big box stores were considered to be what? What was the word they used? What do they call them? Essential. Thank you, Hillary. Those were the essential businesses. Yours, not so essential. Stay home. Well, but how am I supposed to make money? Stay home. It's for the common good, right? The restaurants that were allowed to stay open that were essential were the really unique ones, because they had like this, they must have created some sort of air filtration machine that made sure to keep COVID up above 6 feet, but not down at table height. So you could sit and take off your mask and take your little bite of food and take your little sip of your drink. But if you want to stand up and stretch out, that's where the COVID is. Put that back on. Now you can stand up. You want to go to the restroom? You got to go wearing that thing. There was the party of science, and I'm sorry this is going to sound partisan, and it really shouldn't, because the worst states in the country were the blue states. This is a red state, but it was as bad as any blue state in America, because we let Amy Acton run it. And I blame our party too, because Mike DeWine gave her the platform and the power. Mike DeWine did that. But she then took it. And she enacted and crafted all of these ridiculous policies that literally divided us from essential to non-essential. They divided us from worthy and unworthy. And that was even before we got to the shots. Holy goodness. When the shots became available, what were we told? What were we told by the wannabe governor of the state of Ohio? Did anybody tell you that Amy Acton's running to lead our state now? What were we told? You take that shot and you'll never get COVID. It is safe, won't hurt you a lick, and it's effective. The virus will die with you. You take that shot and you get COVID germs, and they come in there and they go, ugh, and they wilt and they die. You can't pass them on to anybody else. All of that was a crock of heavenly ish. All of it. And you remember what they said to each and every one of us who didn't take that shot? You're going to kill grandma. You're the reason. You, the great unwashed, the great unvaccinated. You are going to. Joe Biden stood up and said, we're tolerant people, but we're losing patience with you unvaccinated people, because for the first time in all of medical history, people who didn't take a shot were going to be responsible for the illnesses of people who did take the shot. And the people who didn't take the shot were going to be blamed for all of the effects that the shot gave to the people. Do you know, Tom mentioned Dr. Peter McCullough. How many people know Dr. McCullough? Last time I talked to Dr. McCullough was last year. before I had I know it's Shannon, I see you lurking. Last time I had Dr. McCullough on, he told me they have evidence. They have evidence. Tom talked about evidence. More people were killed by that shot than ever were by COVID. Not with COVID. Remember that. That's their caveat. That's what they use. If you got hit by a car on your motorcycle and what remains of you that were dragged to the hospital, they shoved a Q-tip up the nose to test it. This guy had COVID death. You take all of that away, and more people died from the complications, the side effects, the cancers, and the myocarditis, the pericarditis, and the strokes and the clots from those shots than ever did from COVID. So why am I here today? Because this is what I was screaming into the microphone every day for about 2.5 years that we went through all of this. And I'm going to continue screaming it so that we do everything we can to make sure that the person who devised all of that is never, ever that close to the reins of power again. That's why we stand up and we fight against Amy Acton, against the Democrats, and never submit to tyranny again. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. Well, next, once again, our endorsed candidate for Ohio Supreme Court. It's a 4-way primary. After you hear today, I beg you, actually, I dare you to not go out and tell your friends, your neighbors about our endorsed candidate, Jill Lanzinger, for Supreme Court. I'd love for you all to hear her message. With that, Judge Lanzinger.
Well, Shannon said I'm endorsed by the Strongsville GOP, but I want to tell you about someone I'm not endorsed by. I am not the Mike DeWine endorsed candidate. Well, we have a big crowd today, and you know why we have such a big crowd? Because we're all still furious about what happened during COVID. And as a judge, when I think about how furious we are, I think about our constitutional rights. Because do you remember? We couldn't go to church. My kid, who was in 1st grade, couldn't go to school. And he lost a lot of learning. He was way behind in reading, as were all the kids. My daughter, who was in high school, a junior, she couldn't go to school. She couldn't go to the dance. People couldn't go to their own graduations. When the vaccine came around, if you were skeptical at all about your kids getting the vaccine, you were treated like you were a neglectful parent. You would go into the doctor's office and say, and as a lawyer, I would say, hey, all these vaccination companies, Pfizer, they're all absolved from liability if somebody is injured. Shouldn't I be a little worried that my kid could be injured? And then I say, shouldn't I notice that most kids are not dying of COVID when they get it? Oh, and by the way, my kid already had COVID. Doesn't he have natural immunity? Oh, my husband's a doctor. And he told me natural immunity, that's the thing. Oh, and by the way, I get a blood test of my kids to show the doctors that they have antibodies. But no, you feel like you're a neglectful mom. Your kid's gonna kill some kid. Do you remember all that? And by the way, people were getting arrested for violating mandates, for assembling. You know, you have freedom of speech, assembly, press, petition, religion in your First Amendment rights. You couldn't go to church. You couldn't be gathered in groups for weddings. And I had those cases in my court. But I do want to tell you another reason I think you're here is because you're afraid this is going to happen again. All it took was a virus to get everybody's rights violated. And guess what? I'm going to tell you the punchline. It is going to happen again. Because that's how people do control you. They control you with crisis. And it's not, sometimes it's a real crisis. Sometimes it's a perceived crisis. And sometimes then it's invented one. That's right. Yep. So I did see those cases. I want to tell you my personal story of being on the bench at the time of COVID. What happened in my court is I was in the Barberton Municipal Court at the time. I was a municipal court judge. And we hear all the cases when people get arrested in our jurisdiction, felony and misdemeanor cases. We see them, we set the initial bonds, we see all the misdemeanor cases. So anytime someone gets charged in my jurisdiction, I have to see those cases. Well, right away when COVID happened, we have a Democratic city, Democrats, and they closed down our municipal building. And we shared the municipal building with the Democrats, the administration. And they told us they were closing the whole building. Well, you can't close the whole building for the judges. We have to see people at the jail. We have to make sure constitutional rights are not violated in that way either. And you know why that's important? Because you could have been one of the people charged under these violating a health order type of charges. And I'm going to digress a little and tell you, violating a health code by Amy Acton, where is that in the criminal code? Because we are a state that has statutory criminal laws. That means they're defined. We also get to know what level of offense they are if you're committing them. And that was the problem with these charges, is they were just, you're charged with violating a health order because you were assembled. And we didn't have any, we couldn't even tell them when they were arraigned, is this a first degree misdemeanor that carries jail time? Is this just a fine? And then also they're being charged for things that are actually enumerated in your constitutional rights. So we didn't even know what to do with these charges when they came to our court. And do you see them at the Supreme Court now? You know why you don't see them at the Supreme Court now? Because they all got dismissed eventually. Because there were problems with them from the get-go, right? So we kept the building open to see prisoners and the things we needed to do. We found a way to do jury trials. A lot of courts weren't doing jury trials. A lot of people had court proceedings and they weren't even having their court proceedings, or they'd have to call in and they never got to see the judge. Some people were waiting on getting custody of their kids, you know, in domestic court, or waiting to resolve a divorce. And it was a disaster. And I want to remind you too, while I'm talking about custody, there were people in the United States, there were stories in the news. Do you remember that? So that's another, your parental rights are a constitutional paramount right. And that's another way your rights were violated. So we kept the court open. We found a big space to have jury trials so we could keep them moving. And also we started doing weddings. We got people, my co-judge at Barberton Municipal Court, also a Republican, also a pastor. So we just had people coming from all over Ohio to get weddings at our place because we were the only ones doing them. I don't say whether, I'm going to back up. I'm a judge. There probably were some others doing them, but there wasn't anybody doing them in our area, in our jurisdiction. And there were people coming from all over. So there could have been other judges doing it, but we were one of the few judges still doing weddings and caring about those things. And I want to tell you something else I did. I care about the safety of the community. And I care that people that need a high bond go to the jail. So what was happening into COVID was I would see a person I would believe was a danger to the community because he or she had a bad background and all the other bond factors, and I would give them a high bond. And then an officer would take them to the jail, and guess what would happen? Our sheriff was a Democrat, just wouldn't take them. Yep. Wouldn't take them at the jail. So this was happening over and over. No matter what bond I set, the sheriff wouldn't take them because the sheriff now is the decider of who goes to jail, not the judges anymore. So what I did, I was the only judge in my county to do a show cause against the sheriff. A show cause is if you don't show me reason why you show cause that why you shouldn't be in contempt. And contempt means you could go to jail or face other penalties. You need to come to my court and explain to me why you're not following my court orders. I did that to our county sheriff to make sure. We were doing our job as a public official, she needed to do hers. And that was to make sure the community was safe. And so that went on for months and months and months and months. As soon as I did that show cause order, she started taking my people out to jail. So I let that linger on for months and months and months and months and months until she had followed my orders so many times that I finally dismissed the action. But it's important for your public, what you found out in COVID. This is, there's good things you find out in bad situations. God shows us the good. You found out which one of your public officials don't have guts. That when they will let their rights be trampled on or trample on them themselves. And we know some of those people were Republicans. Let's be honest. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And vote accordingly. Because some of them are still in office, the people that, and I can't say more than that because I'm a judge and I'm not supposed to be talking about who you should and shouldn't vote for. But I'm just saying I noticed to those things as well. And you have to remember your rights must be protected. Your rights must stand in every situation, whether it's a real, perceived, or invented crisis. And because that's the time where your rights are going to be violated. And you saw that on a very large scale during COVID. And you can't let that happen again. And one of the ways you can prevent that is by voting for certain candidates, especially candidates that prove they'll stand up for your rights. And that's the candidate that I am. So I hope that you vote for me.
See, I told you.
Okay, let's meet that. There we go. That's a good part of what happened last night. I wanted to share that with you because, like I said, we were trying to live stream that last night from the Encore Center in Strongsville. But like I said, we had a little bit of a glitch, but we did get it recorded. Thanks to Joe Miller and our friends from Ohio Political News for sharing that with me so that I could give it to you this morning. And obviously we'll make it available and I'll probably save it on the page, on the locals community page for all of you who are paid supporters. Those of you who are unfiltered insiders, you guys are amazing. So thank you to Shannon for organizing that last night. Tom Renz was incredible. Judge Jill Lanzinger is going to be a phenomenal Ohio Supreme Court Justice, Jill Lanzinger. And I really was privileged to be a part of that event last night. All right. We have a lot of things to move forward to here in this final hour. It's already 6 minutes after. Let me start by reminding you to join the movement with Americans for Prosperity, Ohio style. All right. AFP Ohio, doing phenomenal work on behalf of conservatives and on behalf of Ohio families. What's bizarre about this is Americans for Prosperity Ohio is not really about politics. It's about policy. It's about working to advance good policy with whomever is in office in order to be able to make Ohio the best in the state, in the nation, which it should be. This state is far, far, far too low. It's in the 39th percentile or so, 39th out of 50 states in these areas that we should be dominating in. Economic opportunity, educational freedom, that's school choice, by the way, as well as parental input on what curricula is done in their public schools. Energy abundance, we have so many resources in this state, for goodness sakes, and government accountability. We should be at the top. That's what the BuckeyeBlueprint.com website is all about. Please go to BuckeyeBlueprint.com. Learn about the policy goals. Learn about the grassroots activities that are needed to make these things happen and to have an influence in Columbus to make us better. And then volunteer. Find out how you can be involved. It's all there at BuckeyeBlueprint.com. Real change starts at the local level. That means you and me. So let's get ready and start. All right. That's what it's all about. So happy and proud to be a partner of Americans for Prosperity Ohio. That means they are a foundational partner and sponsor of this show. And that's extraordinarily important to me with respect to the impact that we're trying to have. So thank you, AFP Ohio, and please consider joining AFP Ohio. Now, before we start with our guest who's been sitting patiently in the green room, let me give you 2 minutes of what our guest does. This is Support Our Shields. Dylan, fire that.
For 3 years, I've watched police be defunded, demoralized, dehumanized, and demonized. The lies and the propaganda have led to skyrocketing ambush attacks and has made this the most dangerous time to be a cop in my lifetime. Last year, 249 officers were killed in the line of duty, and most of America doesn't know their names. I couldn't sit back anymore, so I went to them. I went to Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, Rutland, Vermont, Chautauqua, Wisconsin, Fargo, North Dakota, Eastland, Texas, Tacoma, Washington, and McKeesport, Pennsylvania, to name a few.
Flight attention, please prepare for landing.
In this year, I've traveled over 35,000 miles to honor 33 fallen officers in 22 different states. Their sacrifices move me. Their stories stay with me. These men and women are the real heroes that keep answering the call every day. The least that I can do is speak up for them. Their profession, their calling that has such a positive impact on my life. And it's because of that why I get to live the American dream every day.
That's fantastic. What a great mission.
I will support our shields.
Kind of hard to watch that without being extraordinarily inspired. You talk about a labor of love, and you talk about a man who just wants to say thank you and to pay respect to his, to these heroes. That's what Hollywood Henry Morris is all about. He's in the green room right now. So without further ado, let's welcome the founder of Support Our Shields, Hollywood Morris. Hollywood, thank you very much for making some time to sit with us this morning. How are you, good sir?
Bob, thank you, my brother. I am totally blessed to be on with you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, of course, as we draw closer to Police Week. So hope next month, well, actually this month in a few weeks, that we're drawing the attention to the men and women that totally need it.
Amen to that, brother. Listen, I've done a lot of work for police organizations and events, and through my career, I've spoken at many, many functions, and I'm aware of a lot of groups. I was not aware, I'm ashamed to say, until our mutual friend, Sheriff Bruce Zukowski from Portage County, Ohio, gave me your information and said, because the sheriff spoke at an event that I actually hosted in support of ICE agents and CBP last month. And he said, Bob, you need to know Hollywood. And obviously, I didn't know about Support Our Shields. So give me the background of that. When did you start Support Our Shields? I know some of that was contained in the video we just watched. And what was the impetus?
Yes, I started it in 2021, but I actually, it was the Defund the Police movement, Bob, that was the catalyst for me. And when I say the part in the video about living the American dream, that was definitely not how my life started. I was born and raised in the inner city of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I always tell people, Bob, this is not the part they show on the tourist videos or the intro to Miami Vice. And so the zip code for the area that I come from, 33311, when I left, Bob, had the highest adult illiteracy rate in the state, and also had the highest rate of HIV/AIDS infection. So this was normal, the drugs, the dysfunction, and to see what law enforcement was doing locally, in my life from a kid. We were not raised with this defund the police rhetoric, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And those relationships were positive because of the explosion of the crack cocaine epidemic. And although I didn't go into law enforcement, it was these officers, my school resource officers, a lot of my high school football and little league coaches were police officers or worked in law enforcement. So they steered me in a different direction, although the neighborhood that I grew up in was extremely rough, to say the least. And so I had those positive examples. And like I said, although I did not go into law enforcement, I went into media, hence the name Hollywood. 2020 was a wake-up call because I literally saw a narrative being formed and being promoted, with a lot of money behind it. And most of my media involvement, Bob, was with churches. My largest accounts were National Baptist. And I'm watching them allow BLM Antifa type activists to sit down with pastors and instruct them on how to basically not only defund the police, but dehumanize and demonize them. And I wanted to respond to that, knowing that what was interesting, the video from the event last night ties into this, and you and I didn't have this conversation previously, but COVID was the eye opener, because at that point, Bob, I'm making the most money I have made in my career. Because remember, most of the churches, just like you guys share, were shut down. So I'm being flown across the country. I was in Cleveland every month, and I'm watching what is being said by the experts in mainstream media like you shared. And then I'm watching what people are saying on the ground and how their businesses and communities were being destroyed in real time. And the morale for law enforcement was going lower and lower, and their death toll and ambush accounts were rising. And we're trending back in that direction, sadly, again, 6 years later.
Hollywood, I get it. That makes perfect sense as to why and when you started it, during the defund and abolish. Because remember, there was abolish the police, defund the police. They literally wanted to eliminate it, replace people with social workers, replace officers, and all the rest. And in a few cities, I mean, they did it, and they reduced the forces down to like skeleton crews, thinking this is going to make people safer somehow, some way. It took the blink of an eye for them to realize, okay, we got to start hiring again. Hollywood, it's 6 years later since the start of all of that in 2020, since the summer of George Floyd, and there are still, the numbers are still, I mean, they can't hire people fast enough now because they have demonized the profession so much. And the heroes that you honor, traveling into 22 states and honoring those who have sacrificed their lives in service to their communities, there are people who are watching that saying, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of a profession where I'm so disrespected for putting my life on the line for other people. They can't recruit fast enough now. So I don't even know. What's it going to take, do you think, to restore the damage that was done or repair the damage that was done during that time?
Absolutely. It's going to take a nationwide awakening that I'm blessed to say that you are a part of. And like you said, Sheriff Zukowski is a part of. And what has happened is that through this, like has happened, I think, since the formation of our great nation, is trials have brought the right people together. It's brought people like me and you and him together, and even some of the people that you shared the stage with last night, because think about just the past week, about what we've seen nationally. And while it's not a direct law enforcement issue, it has an impact on it, which is, look what happened with the SPLC getting indicted. And we're seeing that, mind you, remember the impetus behind the defund the police was that cops are racist. They're hunting unarmed black men. Remember, you heard that we've made George Floyd a saint, a career criminal. And what we found out through this is what people like me who've worked behind the scenes and like you have been trying to expose for years, is that the supply for racism in America didn't reach the demand, so they made it up. And then what you're also seeing just 2 days ago with the Supreme Court throwing out these racial districts, they are having a fit, brother, because they know that they can no longer do what was done to my community, which is, well, we look like you, so therefore we have your best. We have your best. We want the best for you by destroying your family and your community, all in the name of social justice and restorative justice. It's been one of the biggest scams ran on the country. And what we cannot do, and that's why I respect you so much, is you have to be willing to speak out and be willing to take the hits and the financial costs that you and I know will come, because the future of our nation is that important.
Yeah, that's very well said, Hollywood. And there's so many different directions to go here with everything that you say and have said
Yes.
and what you're doing with Support Our Shields. But there's something I want to hit. Like, do you doom scroll like so many Americans in the social media generation we're in right now? Do you scroll a lot of videos, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. If your algorithms, and I suspect given what you do, they are, if they're similar to the ones that they feed me, you probably see a ton of the videos of traffic stops and officer interactions. And
Yes.
what I want you to speak on, if you can, is we have gone from defund the police to defy the police.
Yes,
Unlike
absolutely.
anything I've ever freaking seen. Now, maybe I scroll too much. And of course, as for those who don't know the way it works on social media, if you hover on a video for 4 or 5 seconds, it's being recorded. Okay, that one captivated him for 4 or 5 seconds. He's into that one. Give him another one like that, and then another one. And the more of them you watch, and if you start saving any of them or sharing any of them, you're in now, and they're going to keep feeding them. So maybe it's me, but I don't think so. But I see so many of these interactions where people just feel like they can mother F the police to their faces, and they can, and they get away with controlling or attempting to control the interactions as if they were the authority figure and not the person wearing the badge. Defund the police has become defy the police. It is disgusting. It is reprehensible. And most importantly, Hollywood, it is dangerous.
It absolutely is, Bob. And this is a great point that you bring. And that is why when you said, remember, they said defund, but you have to understand how the left operates. It's what they don't say, because and it was what they weren't saying in public. But if you went to BLM's website, they laid it out before they got caught and they changed it. It was abolish prisons, abolish law enforcement.
Yes.
So remember, this ideal, we got a grasp of it as a nation in 2020. But this started back in 2014. And so you have what has been termed the Ferguson effect, which is one, police officers back off, crime goes up, these communities fall apart. But the second part of that I think we're just grasping now is that when these things happened before, like you and I are old enough to remember the riots in LA, Rodney King. What people didn't understand now that is so different is the viral because of social media. And so what would have taken years to circulate now has become an attitude that is reinforced because, again, they think that if this, remember the term, pigs fry them like bacon. Remember, that's what BLM was chanting in the streets, right? See, they're echoing this in our public schools, of course, in our colleges and universities. So they're already creating an atmosphere for everyday Americans that the police are out to get you and they're not to be respected. And this is amazing. Remember this, Bob, in 2020, one of the things that they were screaming about, if they could not get police defunded, this is what I think you do a great job at exposing with your show. The same people that were saying that they wanted the police completely defunded and that we should reimagine policing, remember that was the phrase that we got, were the same people that also said that they wanted police departments to spend millions of dollars for police body cams. Every officer has to have a police body cam. Well, Bob, check this out. 6 years later, now you got the Yale did this report the end of last year that body cams, basically what they say is that the body cams are racist because it shows the behavior of the same people that were claiming that they're victims and the cops are after them. Like you said, what we see in these online videos every day is people assaulting and defying and escalating interactions with police officers unnecessarily. Now they say, and because the body cam footage has led to 98% of the offenders being arrested and only 1 to 2% of the officers being either official report or reprimand or even legal action being taken, then again, Bob, you could have known where the end of this was going to be. It's racist.
It's your ultimate backfire. And you know, I mean, what's hilarious about it too is when you get into the comments of these videos and how many people are like, just take him out, just put, you know, I mean, literally they're like, how are you letting them do that? How are you letting them smash the window? Why did it take 17 minutes? You know, why do they get to demand a supervisor and then you got to sit there and be berated by them? People are like, get them, officer, get them.
Yes.
And you know what that is? Prior to the body cams, if they had gotten them,
right,
they would be accused of excessive force. But now the
Correct.
people get to see for real. That's not excessive. That's damn too late. Go do it.
Yes.
For crying out loud. Take control of the situation. So people are really, a lot of people are starting to open their eyes for the first time to what cops actually face. And before the body cams, people had no idea.
And here's the flip side to that, Bob. At the same time, to go back to what you said about the staggering numbers of our retention and recruitment that we're dealing with nationwide. Like you said, the people who would have gone into this calling, because this is more than a career, brother, to put yourself in harm's way every day, to not know if you're coming home. That's why it has impacted someone like me who has never worn the badge, to say that that's not a regular American citizen. These people go above and beyond for people who we've seen now in these videos that will spit on them and call them every name but a child of God. So what has also happened is people have said, just like you're saying about, why am I going to go into this? This is not worth it, because the other part of that, you know, of the defunding was the play, like you said, the defying also leads to the frivolous lawsuits. And we have these George Soros, in most cases, backed DAs, prosecutors that play this game. And I've had the chance, thankfully, to this year, I actually started last year to work with the Police Officers Defense Coalition. You know, I was just in DC this week, and they have several cases, Bob, of officers who have been fired. They're being prosecuted. And the cases are ridiculous. A lot of them even stem back from the riots in 2020. But this is a part, they're playing a game. This is an attack, you know, on multi fronts. And so you, like you said, you have the defying, you know, you have the defunding, you have the dehumanizing. It is all, remember, I like how we're staying with the D's. The core of these Marxists, these cultural Marxists, is to dismantle. They really mean that, to dismantle the United States of America by tearing it apart, tearing up all of our institutions from the inside out. And we can put our heads in the sand, Bob, and think that this is not happening, but they mean exactly what they say, and their goals have been exposed.
Yeah, you know, Hollywood, great point. And what really sickened me is that I played the nice video, or the video of you kind of introducing what Support Our Shields is all about. But I know on your channel there on YouTube, there was a recent one about 6 officers killed in a 48-hour period. And obviously I want to connect that to what the other D that I brought up a few minutes ago about defy. When you normalize defying police and knowing they're not going to, unless you go really, really way past what, you know, the mark should be, when they allow you to do that and people see it and they scroll, they can stand. Doesn't it embolden them to take it a level past that defiance to attacking them and to completely disrespect the badge itself, as if I can do what I want to do, and it's leading to more fatal encounters with officers.
It absolutely is. Bob, think about this, and I want your audience to grasp this morning. This is May 1st. As of today, we've already had 36 officers killed in the line of duty in America. And just like I said, in that video that you played was actually 2 years ago. But it's that same sentiment is true, that most of America doesn't know their name, but they can tell you the name of some fool that decided to escalate, defy, and fight with police and got what was coming to them, because the left makes heroes out of these people to raise money, and to push their narrative. So we've had 36 officers already killed. And like you said, that video that I did last week, since that video, those were, 6 in 48 hours, we lost another 4 the past week. So we were at 30 when I was in Texas and lost 4 in the past 7 days. These numbers aren't sustainable. And that's the warning, it's the canary in the coal mine, if you will, of understanding the chaos that we're heading towards as a nation. And then think about this, already the FBI stats, we have over 12 have been ambush style attacks. So this is literally see a cop, go and just open fire on them for no reason. This is not even a related stop to the perp. So because it's like you said, when that rhetoric is no different than this clown that you saw at the correspondence dinner over the weekend, when we read what his writings were, he was radicalized. He was radicalized by the left, and that's why the Dems don't want to talk about it, because it's their own work. You see, they conveniently play that game, right? But had he noticed what's different about it, and this ties into our topic, because when they can play the race narrative, notice how quick, if they can find that the suspect is white, you get that blasted on the screen within seconds.
You're right.
Seconds. When it doesn't fit the narrative, we don't know the identity. We play the whole we don't know game when it doesn't fit their narrative that, it's racist white supremacists running around the country that we now have found out were being paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center. You notice how this runs together. The mafia called it a racket. But yes, this is what is happening. And then when you think about, like you had Sheriff Zoo, you guys talking about supporting ICE and how they're under attack. Let the audience, let this hit. The assaults on ICE agents are up 1,300%. 1,300% in a year. The vehicular assaults are up 3,000%, and you know how that went viral with Renee Good. And the death threats are up 8,000%. That's not normal, Bob.
No, it's not normal. And you read my mind, because that's where I was going next on this. As a matter of fact, I think we've got this queued up here. Dylan, can you give us just a couple of minutes here of Sheriff Zukowski from the ICE event that we did? I want to ask Hollywood about this after we watch a little bit of the sheriff's remarks at the ICE appreciation event that we had. Go ahead.
Well, hello, everybody. I'll tell you, this is refreshing, because you are my kind of people. I'm just going to start out by saying that. So thank each and every one of you. And thank you, Bob, for getting this thing going, because I'll tell you what, like you said, there's nothing out there like this with ICE and supporting ICE right now. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called TDS, but it's real. It's real. And Bob and I discussed this. And also Tom Z and his wife, Dan, I'll tell you, two great people. And I got to point out Brandon Rossi, too, over here. Brandon, wave your hand. This kid right here is the reincarnation of Charlie Kirk. Great turning point representative. I love this kid. And I'll tell you what, anybody ever gets a chance to listen to this kid speak, he speaks way beyond his age. I mean, just great. So love him. Let me start a little bit just about myself. I'll be 35 years in law enforcement this November.
Okay, Dylan, let's go ahead and pause that there. I just I was hoping to hear part of what his message was rather than the intro, and that's okay. Let me bring Hollywood back up here and talk about what that event really was. I don't know if we can fix that screen, Dylan, and get Hollywood back on the screen there. Can we make that happen? But Hollywood, what this event was it was set up long before everything really went haywire in Minnesota, because ICE agents have been, is it just my screen, or there we go. Thank you. Before the horrific events in Minneapolis, ICE agents had been targeted simply for doing the job that they were hired to do. And so have, of course, President Trump and DHS and everybody else, and Tom Homan, for daring to follow congressional law. Congress passed laws that said you can't do this. We have to enforce those laws. So here's the law enforcement officers and people need to recognize that badge, whether it's local, state, whether it's a local cop, a county deputy, a state trooper, or a federal agent, that badge all means the same thing. These are law enforcement officers. And I want to tie back to what I talked to before about defying police and what we see on these videos. When they get away with it, and when they're not held accountable, and quite frankly, when they're not physically fearful of being, controlled by the authority in those situations, it leads to what happened in Minnesota.
Yes.
You're ginning up all this rage toward ICE and CBP because leftists wanted that invasion. They do not want this massive what President Trump promised and has yet to become, by the way, the largest mass deportation ever, then you add that to the videos that we're talking about, and it leads people to what? This idiot, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. She's sitting in there blocking the road, talking about Renee Good, and she's blocking the road, and she is openly obstructing the law enforcement activities of these federal officers. And one finally comes to hold her to account, open the door and say, let's go, get out. She floors it, sees an officer there that I'm convinced, had we not been in this culture and in this environment right now, she wouldn't have gassed it. Same thing with Preddy. You know, here's a person being detained by officers. He is so emboldened by what we see as the defiance of police, of all, officers of all types of law enforcement, goes in there and physically obstructs that while carrying a gun, by the way, which led to his death as well. That's a long question, Hollywood, but to say that what is happening to ICE right now and what is happening to CBP agents and so forth was almost guaranteed to happen because of this slow deterioration of respect for a badge of any level.
Yes. That is absolutely spot on. And I'll add to it. The only thing that I'm upset about on the event, Bob, was that I wasn't there. Because when you guys do the next one, brother, let me know. I will come from Florida because you guys, you are my family. And Brandon, I had dinner with him and Sheriff last year, but knew, like you said, that we saw this coming. But why did we see it coming, Bob? Because we've seen the playbook before. I want to give the audience, let me give you, a higher perspective and then bring it back if I can. Think about this, Bob. If you want to understand where America is heading, now, some people, this will hurt their feelings and some may say it's controversial. Bob, look at the Black community.
To be safe.
The playbook for how you destroy the country was already, the Black community has been the guinea pig for over 50 years. And what I mean by that is literally the left creates the problem and then they come with a fake solution that's worse than the original problem. So think about this, Bob. You literally have grandparents, they're grandparents now, that were around when F the police became the slogan in the hood, in every hood in the United States of America. And then it was cop killer after that. And now wasn't it
a song too? Wasn't it a song?
Yes, exactly.
NWA did.
Yes, NWA, correct. Yeah, correct. Cop Killer, Ice-T, and this is the late 80s, early 90s. Like I said, in a lot of communities, these people are now grandparents. That mentality has gone 2 generations. That's why you have the defy and the disrespect culture, because it's street cred. You see what I'm saying? It's an ideology to act this way. And so the same, and it was taught, it was indoctrinated. Mm-hmm. So, and I have a problem with someone like Ice Cube going around now, they're the first people to claim systemic racism and what program he needs to institute for the Black community without taking responsibility for what we've done to ourselves. That's not popular, Bob. That's probably why I'm banned on X right now, suspended. But we'll come back to that.
You're going to tell that story.
Yes.
You're going to tell that story in a minute.
Yes.
So
you see the same thing happening. That same playbook has been ran now that you literally had the Democrats, let's call it out for what it is. As soon as Biden got into office, you literally undid all of President Trump's border policies and let, at some estimates, 20 million illegal aliens into the country.
That's right.
Now, what communities were impacted worse than first? You see how that works? So now the same people are complaining, but this is exactly what you voted for. And then when ICE comes to, like you said, enforce the laws that Congress has passed, they literally, this could have been avoided by just giving DHS access to the jails.
That's what Sheriff talked about all the time, and that's why he said,
Correct.
In Portage County, his county, and in many others, he just was out there talking to Sheriff Lamb in Arizona as well. And those who get it understand that, and that's why you don't have riots and you don't have face-offs and you don't have everything else, because the agents are not forced to go into the community to find these people that they're seeking.
Correct.
They just go, yep, you got them picked up, because in the course of every day, and it's not as if they're telling sheriff's departments and local police departments to go out there and patrol for illegal immigrants. But in the course of your daily patrol, and you're encountering the people, if you find out that they are indeed illegal, hold on to them, we'll come and get them. And Hollywood,
it's Bob. It comes to behavior patterns and method of operations. They've broken the law once to come in the country. We know that these South American countries release their prisons, sent them here, so our crime rate skyrockets while theirs drops to the lowest in our lifetime. That's not by coincidence. So they're going to commit crimes here.
And the crap of it, Texas has detained and arrested and deported more than 10, maybe 20 times more than Minneapolis.
Correct.
And yet they don't have riots down there, and they don't have what was going on down. Why is that? And it's because of what you just said. Law enforcement there locally is cooperating with federal law enforcement, and so you don't have to go and raid places. And then, by the way, because they like to say you're trying to break up families and you're trying to arrest the landscaper and the day laborer at Home Depot. No, you're not. They're there to get bad people. But when they find the bad people in the community, if they're surrounded by, and there is a tendency to congregate with other, other individuals, we find other people who are illegal too. They're getting swept up in it as well. If they just keep them in the damn jails and cooperate, all of these neighborhood, sweeps would not be happening, and we wouldn't have. It's working in Texas. You would think Colorado and Minnesota and other places would learn that.
But Bob, this is where it comes full circle again. You know who was separated from their family? I was when my parents were arrested. But you see the game that is played, and these same liberals didn't hop on TV. Well, my parents were breaking the law. That's going to be the consequence of it. But you see how it's framed. And so, again, this is where it goes back to culture, Bob, because these same people are the same ones that promoted no snitching culture in the hood. And when the neighborhoods fell apart, now, again, I'm the sellout because I moved out. But I realized you can't convince a whole community to see righteousness as a way of life. For those who choose to stay, God bless you. I'm like, I'm taking my bride and we're going out into the country. But it's that, and so you have the same thing that happens there, Bob, when you're seeing it on the body cam videos. You and I actually have a new project that I'm working on, Cops versus Chaos, that just is my reaction to these body cam videos. Bob, you see cops roll up. It's a government ran apartment complex, Section 8, and they immediately get swarmed. 30, 40 people who have nothing to do with the incident. Where does that not look like California and Minneapolis? See, it's the same mentality. They're being told to interfere. And then when everything goes sideways, they're the victims. But think about what happens. These communities
being told by the governor, for crying out loud.
Yes.
Remember when Tim Walz told them, get out there and take your phones so that we can collect evidence to put them on trial? Who's them? The illegal aliens? No. The agents. We want evidence against the agents. I mean, they told them to go out and get in their faces.
Correct. Now, the same community will then complain, Bob, about the crime. We're seeing it. Think about the Ferguson effect. The businesses shut down. The grocery stores, they get robbed into oblivion. They leave, and the people hop on TV, Bob, and say, it's systemic racism because we live in a food desert.
It's incredible, Hollywood. And you're telling these stories, and you're telling this truth. And for some reason or another, you've been shut down. You just mentioned it a moment ago. For those who don't know, Sheriff Zukowski, and by the way, that whole video needs to be watched of our whole ICE event. We called it a Frontline Freedom Festival and ICE Appreciation Event. And Sheriff Z, after he participated in that, he sent me Hollywood's name and a little bit of information about him. And the way Hollywood and I connected was on direct message on X. And Hollywood reached out and said, hey, brother, let's set this up or whatever. And I was absolutely, we'll get it done. And from the time he first reached out to me till the time we got this scheduled and set up, I didn't know this because I actually went back today to load up for his appearance. I wanted to load up a screenshot of his X account by which he contacted me. So I clicked his name. Our conversation on direct message is still there, but I clicked his name and it said, account blocked or account suspended.
Yes.
Clearly, I clicked something wrong somewhere. Because X doesn't do that like Twitter used to do. What the hell is this all about? And I tried it again, and sure enough, it says Hollywood Morris's account is suspended. So Hollywood, give me a story.
Yeah, this has been literally within the last week. The last thing that I posted, Bob, covering this was the officers that we lost, like you referenced, the officers on last week. And I did not pull punches, in that video saying that this is a stain on our country and on these people who claim to be leaders that literally are gaslighting these clowns into attacking our law enforcement officials. And I came, like you said, went to log in DC. I did update that I was going to DC, that I would be working with Police Officers Defense Coalition, that we were meeting with some leaders in Congress about important bills. One that's controversial to some is qualified immunity that I referenced, because these officers are being sued into oblivion for actually doing their job. And apparently, someone on X thought that was hate speech. It is, like you said, I agree with you. I've definitely seen an improvement.
Hollywood, even if it was hate speech, again, X was brought back free speech. That's what it did when Elon bought it. I mean, and nobody likes hate speech, really. I mean, no matter who it's coming from.
Right.
But not liking something is different than it being illegal. And it's crazy that they saw what you were doing as hate speech, and you were just calling out this reality about what's happening to these officers who are getting killed left and right. But even so, I'm just pissed off because I thought it was fixed. I thought, when Elon bought it. So where are you? You said you got an appeal going?
Yes, I have the appeal. I'm waiting to hear back from them because they played the part that bothered me, Bob, was that they give this blanket statement and don't point specifically, because I think you get these, I could be wrong, but I think you get these rogue agents and actors. I do think that Elon did a good job of, he he bought a cesspool. Let's call it what it was. But there definitely could still be bad actors who've, hung around in the system. And I do think that it will, again, like I said, when you look at what it was that I posted, it's no way that was hate speech. I know that this is a game that left plays. They claim the victim and everything, so I don't know if there was a coordinated response to report, for a bunch of these clowns that something I said was hate speech, but it's an indictment on X that should have been reviewed, obviously, closer than that, because none of that was. I was literally going back, Bob, trying to go through. I'm like, well, what did I post? I post every time an officer is killed, and I point out, like you said, when we get these dash cam, these body worn videos of the utter stupidity. And I mean, we both know, like we said, Sheriff Zoo, and he has the famous slogan FAFO. And I'm like, I'm sorry if that hurts your little snowflake feelings, but we got to get back to a place in American society about where, if you F around, you're going to find out. That is binary. And our generation understood that. We've lost that, and people think that there's no consequences for their actions. It's making America, it's making our nation less safe, but it's definitely making the calling of police officers far more dangerous than what it should be in the greatest nation on earth.
I have to believe that when human eyes get on what you posted, you'll be reinstated immediately. Because I feel like I love Elon and what he has done in a lot of ways. Work with Doge and the work with
absolutely
back to the social media platforms. I do love that, but I think the one thing about Elon is he is so about AI and so about the automated technology, which is what so many of his companies are based on. He's probably got machines, and once a few people reported your thing because of their snowflakery, the machines, the bots, the whatevers, the AI monitors said, "Oh, well, this is bad enough. We got to exit out of there." As soon as human eyes see it, hopefully, I think you'll be back on there, which you should be, because prior to X, I mean, when it was still Twitter, I got enough of my stuff banned and blocked. I quit it altogether. I had almost 50,000 followers, and I said, "F you, I'm out of here." This is before I knew Elon was going to buy it and fix it all.
Yes.
I still haven't rebuilt it up. I've got like 13,000 people on there now, but it really ticks me off to see it happening still under Elon's leadership. Hollywood, I want to take you up on what you said. By the way, we're not done up here supporting ICE. I'm going to send you one of our shirts, by the way, too. Sheriff's got one, but because we have to step up and stand up and continue to fight this fight on behalf of those who are protecting us. And that's what these people are. These are not marauders trying to make neighborhoods less safe. These are trying, one of the things we did, Hollywood, is we put signs up all over that event, the mugshots, the same kind that they were lining in the White House for a while on the lawns there. These are all the people that ICE is removing from your neighborhoods, your communities, rapists and child molesters and carjackers and drug runners and human traffickers and all of this stuff. These people are now gone because of them, and you're protesting them? No, we're going to celebrate them. We're going to support them, and we're going to hold another one, I promise you, this summer. And when we get the date set, Sheriff Z will be there again, and I would love to have you come up because
I will be there, brother. Yeah, something that what you guys did. So I got a picture from that, but I think it's nothing compared to being there to see it in person. Here's why that was so powerful, Bob, and you get it. You get it, and I don't know that, sometimes, of course, I've been in DC the last 2 weeks, and it's something that I'm seeing on Capitol Hill, Bob, and that is you have cases, especially with conservatives, you do have a lot of well-meaning Americans, but the more time you spend in DC and away from ground zero, you do lose perspective, because that should have never been stopped. If it was my call, Bob, and again, the audience may, some may think this is controversial. You remember during COVID, we had the damn ticker going at the bottom of the screen. Like we said, we're realizing today that so many of those were not COVID. We should have that from the White House every day, because here's what the left understands, Bob. They understand the power of media and messaging. And so, like I said, this is how I got led into this with Support Our Shields, is because I understood, when you start seeing BLM activists sit down with pastors and giving them Marxist talking points, Bob, that's not going to end well. That never ends well. And so we don't do a good job on the conservative front, on the national scale, of keeping this in front of people. The people who we're losing children, wives, spouses, husbands every day to illegal immigrants who shouldn't be in this country. And the people who sit behind, they're quick. The squad, they're quick to hold up a picture. They're still holding up pictures of Pretty and Good. See, to throw that narrative, and they'll throw those two names. You've seen it on Capitol Hill this past week. They keep doing it, because they play the emotional route. Well, I'm like, because they understand it's powerful, and we have to catch up to that with the truth.
I love your idea, man. I love your idea. A ticker, at least on whitehouse.gov, on the website.
Absolutely.
Put a ticker up there, honestly, and show all of these people. That would go a long way. That's a very powerful message, because you're right. They weaponized that during COVID.
Because you know what, Bob? This is what I did. One thing, I'm sorry, that when I did the video at the beginning of the year, remember, this is right after Renee Good, and the attacks were exploding. They're protesting all through the night. They're doxing the hotels that agents were in. The video that I did in response to that, Bob, what I did was go through the last 6 years, because remember, the narrative was, well, she was trying to flee. She wasn't aiming the vehicle. Even when the footage came out, they played, they magically forgot, Bob, and everybody became Neo from the Matrix. Like you can take a 3-ton vehicle and just magically move it or move him, to move the officer, right? Before you remember, they doxed him as well.
Yes.
And so what I did was went through all the names, and there were over 50 of the officers who have been killed by vehicular assault in the last 6 years. And I intentionally, like you said, ran that ticker throughout the video because they remember that's one of the slogans, say their names. Well, what about our names of the men and women that we lose, to this type of foolishness? And if you play, again, stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. And you never see these people, Bob, they care so much about their neighbors and Maryland dad. Remember that? You never see these people go and protest in front of a trap house when the narcs are there raiding it, for the drugs and prostitution that is going on. Think about that. They literally they inserted themselves into a federal operation. That is a different kind of drug, Bob.
It is. And you know what? I'm trying to do something on the fly here because I didn't know we were going to talk about this in that way, but I would love to be able to show this now. This is, damn it. I only have it on my phone, and I sent it to another officer actually yesterday. I do a show. We do a show, and this is a good chance for me to cross promote something. It's called Cops Under Fire that I host, and I've hosted for a couple of years now. I think we're in our 4th season. And it's on the True Blue channel. It's a True Blue streaming channel, and it's also on a YouTube channel as well. It's I'm sure you know of Chris Hansen, who's been taken down.
Yes, absolutely.
Years. Yeah. So it's so I host a show on his network. He's the co-owner of the network called Cops Under Fire, and we take people through real footage, surveillance. Oh, look at that, Dylan, because Dylan works on that show too. Dylan works me on that show too. They made me wear the vest, by the way. I wasn't trying. It was a sponsor thing, right? It was a sponsor of the vest. I'm standing in the studio, and I'm standing there in the studio, as if I'm about to get shot. Why am I cosplaying? I'm not trying to stolen valor or anything. I swear they made me wear the vest. I guess it does look kind of cool, but
it does look cool.
I took some heat for it, but it wasn't my call. Anyway, just yesterday, I sent this video. Dylan, you're on the Cops Under Fire group chat. Dylan is running the behind the scenes stuff for me right now. Dylan, can you throw that up on the screen and show it to Hollywood and our audience right now? The thing that I texted to the group yesterday. It's called. I'm sorry, there's a caption on it. It's from an account called Street Cop Training, and the caption is, "That's the last cop she's ever going to run over." I want to show that here, if you can, Dylan. Can you make that happen? While Dylan works on, you're queued up. Okay, Dylan, Hollywood, bear with me for a moment. I'm going to let him find that while I take care of some important business here. And that means I want to talk to you about our friend and foundational partner of Strictly Speaking Unfiltered, Mark King, and the good folks at Keeping Medicare Simple. Mark's team is amazing. And those of you who have met him because you are already in Medicare and you needed advice on how to get to the best plan for you, you'll get the most benefits for the lowest amount of cost. That's what it's about. And they make it complex on purpose because it's hard to find that. All right. And the more you have to pay, the better the insurance companies like it. But Mark cuts through that complexity. And as you can see, for nearly 40 years in Northeast Ohio, he's been keeping Medicare simple. So if you're already on Medicare, you call Mark at that number on the screen, 440-832-8936, and find out if you're in the best deal, the best policy, and the best coverage you can get. If you are not yet into Medicare, you're aging into it this year, turning 65, retiring, you call Mark and make sure you get in the right policy for you from Jump Street. Okay. So he can help you whether you're already in it or if you're aging into it. Okay. Call that number. And it doesn't have to be during one of the enrollment periods either. Go to the website, learn more. You can see that there too. KeepingMedicareSimple.com. And then call that number, 440-832-8936. That is Mark King and Keeping Medicare Simple. And by the way, I want to throw something else out here too. This is just kind of an extra because Mark is such a great patriot and a Christian man. His daughter is doing some amazing things as well. And he asked me if I would throw this up there. And I said, absolutely, because we don't have enough good things like this to celebrate. His daughter runs a Christian dance studio, Christian ballet. She wrote a Christian ballet that's being performed in Medina this weekend. In fact, tonight at 6:30 at Medina at the Haddad Theater in on the square. Tonight at 6:30 and tomorrow at 2:30. It's 144 North Broadway in the Medina County Admin Building, second floor. It's called Escape from Pirates Cove. It's Christian. It's beautiful, and she is uber talented. So a little shout out to Mark King, his family, his daughter, and that event. If you are at all interested in something uplifting and inspirational like that, please consider attending one of those performances tonight at 6:30 or tomorrow at 2:30 in Medina. So Mark, thank you for being such a great friend of our show and a supporter. Dylan, do you have that video up and ready to rock? Okay, let's go ahead and share that screen and see if we can do that. Hollywood, thank you for indulging us. Okay, now if you can make that any larger, Dylan, see if you can enlarge that a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Oh, it looked like it was getting bigger. Sometimes the screen won't get bigger.
Yeah, it does the screen.
Just the commentary or the language does. Okay, well, see if you can block out that. Yeah, okay. It's not perfect, but let's play this because I want people to see what we're talking about and what you just mentioned about aiming those vehicles. Go ahead. Can we get audio on that?
299, keep fleeing.
Get out of the car! Get out of the car!
Get out of the car!
Now!
299, she almost struck me.
Get out of the car!
Ah!
Dylan, pause that now and fast forward up to the other officer's body cam where that starts, because then you're going to we saw it from the perspective of the officer who got hit. That's probably fine right there from the officer who got hit. Now look at it from the perspective of his partner, the one who had to respond. Go ahead.
Get out of the car! Shots fired, officer hit.
Okay.
Show your hand.
That's good. Hollywood, I'm just going to shut up and let you take that.
That video encapsulates everything that we're talking about, Bob, and why we do what we do and why we've taken the hits. You've been taking them for years. It is that clear. That was a matter of seconds. This is someone who had made up in their mind that they don't care about his life. They didn't care about their lives or anybody else's lives. This is what these men and women, brother, they encounter this on a daily basis. At any moment, it can turn this crazy that quickly. That quickly.
Yeah. And when I saw that video, and that's why I wanted to show it to you and everybody else.
Yes.
My first thought went to the officer who was struck by Renee Good, because
correct.
Essentially, the driver of that vehicle and the driver of the Renee Good, they are in possession of a 4,000-pound weapon. And
absolutely.
Just like a handheld weapon, it just takes one pull of the finger.
Correct.
All it takes is 1 foot on the gas to fire that weapon. That weapon was fired at that officer, and he didn't get a chance to get out of the way in time.
Correct.
And look what happened. It could have killed him. And what happened in Minneapolis, that officer couldn't get out of the way in time, so he had to try to defend himself because Renee Good had fired her weapon at him first. That is
exactly.
That's what I wanted people to see. And I saw that was one of the best videos. And I'm so sorry it had to happen to that officer. And I don't know any details of his injuries.
Yes. I'll follow up on it.
Okay. But I was glad to see it, because the first thing I want everybody to think of is that's what was facing the officer in Minneapolis. Everybody was mourning, oh, poor, Renee Good. She was a poet. She was
and a mother. Yes.
Yeah. And she fired a 4,000-pound weapon at an officer, and that's why she's dead right now.
Right. And again, Bob, remember what I said in the last segment is that this is the game that is played. Every time you have this where the left wants to make a martyr, remember, they always turn them into a saint. Regardless of the criminal record, George Floyd, Rayshon Brooks, we go through Jacob Blake, you go through the record.
Gray, Michael Brown.
Freddie Gray. Yes, exactly. Michael Brown, a perfect example because they showed the picture of him. You know, they take a picture from 4 years ago or his graduation picture. That's not the person that the officer encountered Wilson that night, who literally, when DNA evidence proved that he was pulling the gun out of his hand. If he had gotten that gun away from him, how do we think that story ends? Well, we've seen it. He executes him right there in the street. Yet we literally did a hashtag, hands up, don't shoot. And it spread globally, brother, globally.
You got LeBron James and his teammates all running out onto the court, hands up with wearing those warm-ups, hands up, don't shoot. I mean,
yes. You know, and here's the thing, but Bob, they don't live in Ferguson. They don't live in Watts. LeBron came out and actually said something true for the first time in a decade. Oh, he doesn't like going to Memphis. We know you don't. We know why. They don't live in these areas, and Overtown, Liberty City. They are not trying to go near them. Yet the people who are economically stuck, they need these officers keep them from living the purge in reality every day. And yet these people make money with private security. They'll never, and behind, and living in gated mini mansions, they will never place themselves in harm's way. And they will never live in the hellholes they complain that they claim to care about.
Hollywood, it's God's work you're doing, man. Shining a light on all of this and supporting the fallen officers through Support Our Shields. Website, YouTube channel. How can people see more of what you're doing?
Yes. The website is supportourshields.com, and the social media that is still up, IG, Facebook, and YouTube, is all at Support Our Shields. Now, in the video that you played, Bob, at that time it was 33,000 miles. Sadly, because we've lost so many officers since then, now I'm closing in on 100,000 miles, and it's 75 officers in 33 states now. And I'm heading to Maryland and Delaware this summer. So the work continues because sadly, the men and women we are losing on a weekly basis who are sacrificing everything for people that in many cases hate them. And in a lot of cases, the public will never know their names. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, God bless you for doing it, Hollywood. I appreciate it. It was an honor to talk with you, and we'll continue to pray for our protectors.
Thank you, brother. It was an honor to be with you. And this is the first time, like we said, we're a family. When the event, anything that's happening that way, Bob, you reach out to me, brother. I will be there.
You can count on it, brother. Thank you, man. Hollywood Morris, Henry Morris, phenomenal conversation. Really appreciate every single bit of that and every single bit of what he does. All right, we're past our time. It's already 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, but I am not leaving without thanking my man, Charlie, the politically incorrect mechanic, who is MAGA and America first all the way through and through. That's one reason for you to support his business. But another reason is because you don't like having to overpay for unnecessary repairs on your car. That's why. You get to support a great patriotic American like Charlie, at the same time getting your car repaired or maintained without any upcharges, because he's an honest mechanic, which is a rarity in today's world. Honest work, fair prices, done right. You see it right there. He has worked on everything that I've ever seen of that has an engine, honestly. But obviously, specialty are cars and light trucks. Mechanical, electronic, you name it, he gets to the root of it, and he'll fix only what needs fixing. And he'll give you a tremendous price no matter what. But if you are also a patriot, by way of that meaning a first responder, an American veteran or an American active military man or woman, or if you're a concealed carry license holder, you get 10% off all of the auto services at Charlie's Auto Repair in Lakewood. Charlie has come on as a foundational partner of this show. I want to thank him for that. God love you, Charlie, and we love you. Thank you so much for your loyal support. And I want everybody to make sure that you go and support Charlie as well. You got an automotive need. That's your answer right there. All right, everybody. Thank you to the chatters. Thank you to Hollywood. Thank you to Dylan, who's with us today. And don't forget, make sure that notification button is hit and keep hitting the thumbs up and everything else that you can to support the show. The algorithms need to be juiced a little bit by some grassroots efforts. Share this with other people. Share the URL. Just tell people about Rumble. Tell them to look up Strictly Speaking or Bob Frantz when they get on Rumble, whatever they have to do. I met a lot of great folks last night in Strongsville who said they want to watch, but they don't do Rumble. They don't know how to do it. Trying to give as many tutorials as I can. I need you to do that for me as well so that we can really grow and make this show bigger and more impactful than ever before. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Be well, be safe. Don't forget, Sunday morning, 6 a.m., you will be receiving Strictly Speaking This Week in your email inbox if you are a subscriber. All right? It's free for now. It's free. You better get in while you can. Okay. Subscribe to Strictly Speaking This Week, my newsletter, which will come out Sunday mornings at 6 a.m. just by emailing me, bob@strictlyspeaking.org. We'll have to make a graphic for that and put it on the screen at some point. But bob@strictlyspeaking.org is my email address. You send me a message saying you want to subscribe, we'll get you subscribed. All right. And then you can make sure. Look at that. Dylan, well done. Put it up on there quickly. Send that to me and we'll get you subscribed so you can get the email or the newsletter on Sunday mornings. Now, for the final time, I'll say be well, be safe, and stay free. See you then. Bye-bye.